Bill Maher recently had Elon Musk on his show, stirring up debate about the so-called woke mind virus. Amidst laughter, Maher playfully dubbed Musk a genius and meme dealer, while Musk criticized the current cultural climate as stifling free thought and meritocracy. Their discussion veered into the effects of this virus on education, portraying a grim view of historical teachings. But is Maher a cultural crusader or just a cynic? Bill Maher, HBO's king of contrarian comedy, hosted none other than Elon Musk to rant about the so-called woke mind virus plaguing our youth. The episode quickly turned into a battleground over modern sensibilities. Maher introduced Musk as the man who brought electric cars to life, before snarkily adding, and tweets a lot. The praise flowed as freely as the liquor in Maher's studio, with Maher anointing his guest a genius and a historical mover who can crack a joke now and then. Musk lapped it up, agreeing and saying he loves that Maher's got a sense of humor, a rare trait he suggested, contrasting it with Facebook's CEO Mark Zuckerberg, who I'm not even sure is a real kid. Musk was all smiles, claiming a love for comedy and even comparing himself to a meme dealer, laughing uproariously as he mimed hawking contraband from his jacket's inner pockets. As the conversation steered towards the ominous woke mind virus, Maher prodded Musk to elaborate on what he perceives as a civilization-threatening plague. Musk fumbled initially, labeling it anti-meritocratic and a suppressor of free speech because you can't question things. He likened it to cancel culture, a favorite target of Maher, who's no stranger to backlash over his own edgy takes. On their second go-around, when Maher pressed for the origins of this alleged mind virus, Musk stumbled even more before claiming it's been brewing for a while. He argued that the indoctrination in schools and universities is far more severe than parents realize. He relayed a tale about a friend's high school kids who knew George Washington was America's first president and a slave owner, but nothing else. That's the woke mind virus right there. Maher chimed in before half-heartedly defending slavery as a practice endorsed by many societies and even the Bible, unchallenged by Musk's portrayal of historical facts as indoctrination.
And finally, new rule, if you're part of today's woke revolution, you need to study the part of revolutions where they spin out of control because the revolutionaries get so drunk on their own purifying elixir, they imagine they can reinvent the very nature of human beings. Selfishness could be cast out of human nature. Russian revolutionaries spoke of the new Soviet man who wasn't motivated by self-interest, but instead wanted to be part of a collective. No, it turns out he wanted to be on a yacht in a Gucci tracksuit holding a vodka and a prostitute. Not standing in line all day for a potato. Is that they think you can change reality by screaming at it, that you can bend human nature by holding your breath, but that's the difference between reality and your mommy. Lincoln once said that you can repeal all past history, but you still cannot repeal human nature. But he's canceled now, so fuck him. Yesterday, I asked ChatGPT, are there any similarities between today's woke revolution and Chairman Mao's cultural revolution of the 1960s? And it wrote back, how long do you have? Story. There's a law professor at the University of Illinois, Chicago, named Jason Kilborn, he used a hypothetical case where a black female worker sued her employer for race and gender discrimination, alleging that managers had called her 2 slur words, the type of real-world case these students might one day confront. And knowing the extreme sensitivity of today's students, he didn't write the 2 taboo words on the test, just the first letter of each. He was teaching his students how to fight racism in the place where it matters most, the criminal justice system. But because he merely alluded to those words, again in the service of a good cause, he was banned from campus, placed on indefinite leave, and made to wear the dunce cap. Now, in America today, that human is no longer born male or female. And obesity is not something that affects health. You can be healthy at any size. Really, we voted on it. A formerly serious magazine last year published with a straight face an article called Separating Sports by Sex Doesn't Make Sense. Yes, it does. Because again, we haven't reinvented Homo sapiens since Crystal Pepsi came out.
Bill Maher, the late-night cynic, famous for his blunt, no-holds-barred commentary, decided it was high time to tackle the woke mind virus. In his monologue, Maher makes a beeline for today's progressive movements, likening them to overzealous revolutionaries lost in their own zeal to cleanse society. He starts off with a bang, throwing out references to communist dreams of reinventing human nature, except he does it with his typical Maher flair. He quips about Soviets preferring yachts and Gucci over collective farming ideals, using humor to underscore his point about the impracticality of radical societal changes. Cue the studio applause, punctuating his punchlines like laughter tracks in a sitcom. But Bill doesn't stop there. He ramps up his critique by drawing parallels between Mao's cultural revolution and today's social justice movements. His portrayal, a modern dystopia where being insufficiently radical lands you in a world of forced apologies and diversity training sessions. The irony isn't lost here. Maher's own hyperbole almost mirrors the extremism he criticizes. Adding to the chaos, he spins the tale of a law professor sidelined for an exam question, suggesting this is the new Red Guard at work, except they wield Twitter handles instead of dunce caps. The satire is thick, the criticism biting, but beneath the sharp wit, there's a hint of something darker, a dismissiveness that skirts the line between critique and caricature. As Maher takes his jabs, he conjures up images of a society gone mad with political correctness, where even a banjo player isn't safe from the mob. His tone, half mocking, half warning, he suggests that we're all just one tweet away from public exile. It's vintage Maher, provocative, a bit alarmist, and loaded with enough snark to fuel a dozen Twitter feuds. Wrapping up, he invokes John Lennon, twisting revolution into an anthem against radical change. It's a clever move, using a beloved icon to bolster his stance. But here's where Maher's narrative stumbles. It's all too easy to confuse satire with sincerity, and his scorched earth approach to criticism might just be reinforcing the divides he claims to lament. It's classic Bill Maher, stirring the pot under the guise of poking fun. As he takes aim at what he sees as the absurdities of modern activism, one can't help but wonder if he's missing the forest for the trees. It's less about dialogue, more about the spectacle, and as always, it's bound to keep us talking.
It's a very hard question, and I don't ask it just, to cause trouble. I'm actually curious.
I am ready.
When do you think the left goes too far?
May I use my lifeline?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Call the people who know.
Okay. What? I mean, you mean they haven't already?
Well, but how do you know? Like, what's a marker
when Trump
for
gets
you?
reelected? That's when you know.
What would you regard as behavior on the left that's unacceptable from the perspective of someone who's essentially liberal?
How long have you got? I mean, the theme I've been trying to promulgate as much as I can the last 5 years, partly just in self-defense of people who say I've changed, I have not, is that wokeness is not something that expands on liberalism. It's something that undoes it, and I think you are on the same page generally. I mean, to give a few examples, color blindness. Wanting to have a colorblind society where we don't see race is classic liberalism. Certainly what Obama was going for. That's not wokeism. Wokeism is race is front and center to everything.
Yeah, so that's part of that.
Jordan Peterson, interviewing Bill Maher, lobbed a grenade into the discussion about how far the left can veer before it's too much. Maher, never one to tiptoe around sensitive topics, threw down the gauntlet, asking when woke culture stops being about progress and starts eating away at core liberal values. It's like he's waving a red flag in a bull ring, right? Not missing a beat, Bill Maher dives deeper with his classic hold my beer attitude. He's like, hey, I'm just defending classical liberalism here, folks. But then he tosses out this idea that striving for a colorblind society, something he claims is the essence of traditional liberalism, is now under attack by modern woke culture people. Accusations of being out of touch or overly simplistic come at him faster than snarky comments in a late-night monologue. Doubling down, Bill Maher isn't just content to stir the pot on television. He takes to Twitter to hammer his points home. It's not hate speech if it's a wake-up call, right? He tweets, as if the platform's character limit could contain the fallout. And just when you think a tweet storm might be enough, he pens this lengthy op-ed that reads like a manifesto against what he sees as the excesses of the left, drawing lines in the sand at every turn. In his tirade, he worries about laws and campus rules that, to him, seem to stifle free speech under the guise of protecting feelings. His take, it's opening the door for anyone claiming offense to dictate the bounds of acceptable dialogue, potentially silencing meaningful discourse. Celebrities and commentators, including some who've shared his stage, don't just sit this one out. They step up, firing back with their own think pieces, essentially telling Bill Maher he's missing the point and maybe just a little past his prime on this debate.
Nobody ever gets canceled for being too woke. So you can say the craziest thing, like men can have babies, and then nobody will, even though people are thinking, well, that's kind of nuts, nobody will say it. They'll just fall in line. Yeah, exactly. That's what I've always thought, men can have babies, sure. I saw a dude who was glowing yesterday, I mean, and that's the problem.
And it's totally insane.
Cowardice.
Yes, it is. It's moral cowardice, isn't it? But
it's intellectual cowardice.
But it also comes from a place of reality, that fear, because they see people around them literally getting cancelled, getting shamed and abused and hounded out of jobs, and they think, I don't want it to happen to me.
Maher, known for his blunt commentary, stirred up controversy on his show by criticizing woke ideology as excessive political correctness. He made a comment about seeing a dude who was glowing as an example of how ridiculous things have gotten, which quickly sparked a lot of negative reactions online. Not backing down, Maher continued to defend his views. He wrote an opinion piece arguing that society is becoming too sensitive and that this is stifling free speech and debate. He claimed he was just defending traditional liberal values. Others in the media, like Piers Morgan, supported Maher's views, suggesting Maher was just pointing out a harsh reality. However, many advocacy groups disagreed, criticizing Maher's comments as harmful and outdated. They argued that his dismissal of progressive movements was not just out of touch, but also harmful. As Maher tried to explain himself further, the backlash only grew. Despite his attempts to use his platform to clarify his stance, he faced more criticism. Now people are watching to see how this will all play out.
Gone. Big Brother says that having no opinion is not an option anymore. You must participate in this online circle jerk, or you will be seen as an insensitive prick who's single-handedly obstructing much-needed progress in the world. Did you post a black square? No? Well, that's why there's still racism. You see, here's what it is. The younger generations were raised wrong. So they can't stand for a minute the idea that other people have opinions different than their own. 59% of consumers now will buy a product or boycott a product based solely on the political stance a company takes. Gen Z consumers need to know if their spermicide condemns cockfighting. Disney didn't want to get into a big pissing match with Ron DeSantis about sex in grade school, but its employees sure did, so they had to. Now one side thinks Disney said too much, the other thinks it didn't say enough. We see this pattern over and over. We saw it with Bud Light, when they did ads with a trans influencer, and MAGA Nation thought it was a plot to use beer to turn them gay. Pride Month is now a minefield for corporations. This year, Target put up special rainbow displays which presented Christians who oppose gay marriage with an impossible choice. Either support a gay lifestyle and go to hell for it, or shop at Kohl's.
Bill Maher recently stirred up some controversy on his show. He mocked the pressure to participate in online activism, sarcastically suggesting that not posting a black square on social media makes someone responsible for the persistence of racism. Maher didn't hold back, continuing to critique young people for their inability to tolerate differing opinions. He humorously pointed out how they make purchasing decisions based on a company's political stance, like needing to confirm whether their spermicide opposes cockfighting. He also brought up companies like Disney and Bud Light, who have found themselves embroiled in controversies over their attempts to support LGBTQ rights. Maher argued that these companies are merely adding to the drama and disappointing everyone, either by doing too much or not enough. As the controversy around his remarks grows, Maher keeps making jokes, but this approach seems to only deepen his troubles. His comments have turned into a classic case of a celebrity misspeaking, leading to criticism from both corporations and advocacy groups. What do you think? Is Bill Maher highlighting real issues or just causing more problems? Hit like, leave a comment, and subscribe to join the conversation.